Hi, everybody. You are listening to Judging Meghan with your host, Meghan Judge. I'm back. I'm so happy, Nicole. I'm happy to have you on. I'm going to introduce you in a second. Um, so, for my listeners that don't know, I was in a bike accident. And if you're watching on YouTube, Nicole said you can't, there's a bug in here. You can't really see it, but you can. But if you want to go to my Instagram, actually, I don't think I posted I sent you what I originally looked like. It was really bad. Um, there's still some bruising and stuff, but you know what, listeners, this is something that happened to me that honestly just made me be so grateful for my life. And, not, I am dramatic. Everyone that knows me knows I come with drama, but this was not a dramatic incident that happened to me. I was riding my bike at night. I had gone to dinner with a friend and I was not wearing a helmet. I was riding a beach cruiser and I kind of went around a corner and was like a street away from my house, and my phone was propped up on a purse in the basket. And I went to fiddle with it to pull the phone back up with the camera light. It fell into the purse and I just swerved and flew off my bike face first and was on a street where cars kind of really quickly turn, and I was right at the end of the street. And in my head, I could not move. I was flat on my face. I had broken my nose, cuts everywhere, blood in my hair. I have cuts all over my body. But it was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And for that brief second, I thought, I'm gonna die, because I could not move. I think my body was in shock. And so I think what I want to say to listeners right now, and Nicole, who's my guest today, is for somebody that really did not want to be here, and I'm very open about that, a few years ago, I realized in that accident how much I want to be here. And I might get emotional because I always do, but it was really honestly very hard. And I kind of still have PTSD from, the first time I went to the grocery store or went out in public, because I was so afraid somebody's going to knock into me. My hands, like all the nerves in my hands, that was the worst part. They hurt so much because all the nerves were messed up. My hands were not broken. I don't know. It was just one of those things where I realized and we're going to talk about this today, how very precious life is and how I feel like I'm never going to take it for granted again. And it was this moment in my life. I've lived a long time, knock on wood, I'm still going to live a longer time. It was just, I felt like it was a spiritual moment in a way too, where it was kind of like God was like, we're not ready for you yet. You still have work to do. Finish the book, all the things that I still have to do. Don't leave my kids. I felt so grateful, to be here. So that's it. That's what I'll say. And I love my podcast listeners. I love doing what I do. And I'm just so very grateful to all of you and all of you that have reached out. Thank you. You're wonderful. So with that being said, I want to introduce my guest today, Nicole Sciacca, who could not be here on a better day because I adore this woman. She is a fitness professional. She and I met doing a panel probably 3 weeks ago, right before the accident. And she is just a firecracker. She's a former dancer. She's everything. She also is the host of the podcast Shock and Y'all, which is the best name ever. And I just did her podcast. So if you want to go and listen to it, I would highly recommend it. She's a great interviewer. She's a firecracker. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, buddy.
Hi, bud. How
Oh
you
my God.
doing?
I'm fine. You are some kind of walking miracle. I just need your listeners to know that I did see the photo because I requested it, and I audibly gasped when I saw your face and hands. And I don't know I don't know how, if you're not covered in special effects makeup, you look this good.
Well,
I
thank
was legitimately horrified for
Well,
you.
honestly, so for somebody as vain as I am, to get in an accident like that and still have my teeth,
Oh, yeah,
and the
girl.
way I broke my nose, it was a clean break. I broke it in two places, but it was a clean break. And my glasses are kind of what saved me. So there's kind of a big giant scar now because I had stitches, but the glasses broke and they kind of saved I do have a concussion. I want to say that I'm healed. I'm 2 weeks out almost. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks. So I might be a little slower today in questions, but you know, I'm here.
You're
Thank
alive,
God.
you're well, you look
My
amazing.
my
And
teeth are still on
teeth,
attached to my head,
I
right?
mean, honestly, we both know this could have been so much worse. And as bad as it was, we're thankful because sometimes you need those little spiritual crashes, if you will.
You do. And I forgot to mention this. Please, everyone, I don't care if you're on an e-bike or you're on a bike like I was. I was so close to my house. It had just gotten dark. Wear a helmet.
Yeah.
Wear a freaking helmet. You can go over a little bump and just another friend of mine just sent me a picture of her kid was on an e-bike with a helmet, got really damaged their face. Just be so careful because we have to wear helmets. I wish it was actually a law to make
I
people
can't believe
wear
it's not,
helmets. Well,
honestly.
for e-bikes, for e-bikes, I think only for kids, right?
Well, I mean, I see plenty of adults. We both live in the South Bay, and
Yeah.
it is a free for all of I'm just beach friendly. I'm just riding my cruiser down to the. But you were on a cruiser, right? Were you on an e-bike?
I was on a beach cruiser. I was 2 streets away from my house.
Insane.
I literally, and not to keep talking about me because the interview is about you, but this was also for listeners. I talk a lot about spirituality and I know you're spiritual too. The minute before I went around the corner, I had been at dinner with a friend of mine that I love. And I went around the corner and the air was perfect. It was such a pretty night. And do you ever have those moments in your life where you go, thank you, God. What a great night. I'm so lucky for my life. I
Yep.
went around the corner thinking that. And then it happened so fast. It was this silence for a quick second. And and now I don't really remember everything, but I remember going, oh my God, this is about to be the end. This is really bad. And my whole body just going like that. So,
I don't want to be dramatic. I don't know where you can just cut this part out if you don't want to keep this, but
no, keep it.
I've heard from a number of teachers and experts that we have multiple exit points in life
Hmm.
and that we actively our souls choose or contract into the life that we're in, but there is an opportunity to quote unquote exit at multiple times throughout our journey. What if, oh, I just got full chills. What if that moment that you had of that recognition of how valuable and how much you cherish your existence as it is changed the outcome of how you crashed? Like,
I mean, it makes sense because I say this all the time to my listeners that I think that, and I probably said it on the panel, life is a series of tests and we go through things in life. You've gone through a lot. I've gone through a lot. And, um, and I really honestly can't explain it, but I did feel God, something there with me. I don't know if it was Julie, if it was my dad. I don't know. I'm going to get emotional. It was something, it was so silent. And when I called out and a man came and picked me up because I was on the street. He was driving and then called the ambulance. And I was with it enough to say, call my husband. I knew his number. Um, there was something there. I literally sound like a little bit of a quack right now, but I'm telling you, I know. And that moment was where it sealed the fact that my faith is probably stronger than it's ever been because I know that there's something there. I really do. That something was with me.
that's what I'm saying. Well, I think all
Yeah.
your angels, your ancestors, your spirit guides, all your loved
Yeah.
ones, you have so many on the other side, your dad.
Yeah.
I do believe that those moments of, I don't want to say trauma, but that's what they are. Those accidents, whatever they are, those life shifters
Hmm.
provide such a vacuum of space for your experience. Everything else is just like a loop, right? This life, I'm going to this podcast. I got to go get my kid lunch. We're going to go do this after that. He's got football tonight, blah, 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 blah. Then you have an interruption like that. And it gets so quiet because you recognize that we live in a duality, right? We live in a noisy place where things are busy and we're all obsessed with the 3D in front of us. And you're a spiritual being and you're divinely protected. And you might be exiting life at this exit point, or maybe it's not your time. And it's just It's like a gentle buffer that's like, hey, Meghan, things are really good. Let's get in the flow of gratitude even more. Let's get in the flow of,
Yeah.
buckling down for whatever project you're working. It just is sometimes those buffers are really dramatic. And
And I think too, it was almost like somebody saying, "You have work to do. You're
right?
not done here." So
Exactly.
I don't know. You couldn't be a better guest to come on today because of this exact topic that we're talking about. It's I don't know. I feel like I took a lot of my life for granted. And then when I went to get my stitches out, the doctor said something to me because I've been afraid to drive. I went to the Hollywood Bowl the other night. I was kind of like all these people were around me, but it was so fun just to listen to music and dance and feel alive and
Yeah.
very, very grateful, you know? But I want to talk about you. But I'm just so grateful you're the person that I'm talking to today because spirituality is a part of your own life. And you're so inspiring to me when we met on the panel. You came right up to me too. So, listeners, we were on this panel together with Kelly Gores, who wrote the documentary Heal. She's coming on too. And these two women are just exceptional people. I remember going into the room and thinking, oh God, I'm meeting these two gorgeous women. And that, you feel intimidated sometimes.
Yeah.
And Nicole walks right up to me and she's just such a firecracker and you have such great energy and you're self-deprecating, which I love. It's the best quality I think in human beings is to be self-deprecating. It's my favorite thing. And I immediately know when I meet a woman that's self-deprecating, I go, I'm going to like this person. And you're just and then we were sitting on the panel and you're this amazing dancer and you took your leg and you picked it up over your head and you're just so funny. You have this amazing energy. So I want to ask you, have you been like this your whole life? Tell me about where you're from because I don't even know that. I want to know more about Nicole, and I think the listeners will get a kick out of it too.
Well, unfortunately, I have been like this my whole life. It's like a developed quality. I think I came in, my parents nurtured it, and it just got worse. So thanks for appreciating that. I think when I first met you, I was like making fun of my stupid ruffle shirt because I'm not a ruffly girl. I don't wear ruffly shit at all. And I walked up and I'm like, "Look, I look ridiculous." It's like,
You
"Where's
were.
ruffle, Megan?" And you're like, "It's great." And I'm like, "Oh, it's freaking stupid." Um, yeah, no, I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama, and I was raised in a really beautiful, loving, harmonious, drama-free home, except for what I brought to the mix, which was extensive and still is, if we're being honest. Um, just two lovely parents and a younger brother, and I always stood out, right? I started dancing at the age 2. The minute I started dancing, I'm like, this is my path, man. I have to be a dancer. Specifically, I remember my dad was a physician and they had me in swimming and tennis and all these sports, and I was pretty athletic. And I was like, no, I have ballet class at 4 o'clock, so I can't do this swim lesson. I need to be in dance class. And it was who I was. And for better or for worse, it became my identity and a part of my self-worth, which bit me in the ass later on, as it does.
Yeah.
But I was supported and completely, what's the word? Held in my weirdness. I stood out amongst the Alabama culture because it's very Southern, it's very conservative and appropriately Southern. And I just was like, I'm going to be wearing these combat boots to school. And if you guys have a problem with it, we can talk about it in the bathroom where I won't do anything because I'm all talk. But
Yeah.
I was always toeing the edge a little bit. So fortunately, my family supported me on that. And I don't know, I think I've been protected from day one, divinely protected, because I've been able to speak my mind. And it's been, I don't want to say well received all the time, but it's been a blessing for me and usually for the circles I'm in.
Do you feel like, because I danced when I told you this, I started dancing and acting and doing all that stuff when I was very young too. And for me, it was a great escape.
Oh, yeah.
And music and dance, they're just not only are they great for your body, but just it was my release and my way of kind of escaping. And I loved to dance. I
Yeah.
don't anymore. Sometimes I miss it because I did it all the way through college and then a little bit after college when I was trying to act in New York and do all that stuff. But tell me like growing up in my mom had a house in Charleston, so I understand like how the Southern culture, and I went to boarding school with a lot of Southern girls. Everyone says fixin' and they eat grits, and everyone says, "How is your mom? How is your mom doing?"
How's your
They say
mom? How's your
mom.
mom doing?
Yeah, but what
Oh,
was that like just being, were you accepted with the Southern kind of girls that all were probably wearing the big frou-frou? Laura Ashley, maybe that wasn't,
Laura Ashley.
remember
Oh,
Laura
Laura Ashley.
Ashley? Yeah.
I'll never forget. I I guess I was accepted. I mean, if any of them are listening right now, I'd be curious to get their input. Here's what's interesting about me, Meghan, is that I've had tunnel vision for a good portion of my life, right? At a young age, I knew I was going to be a professional dancer. I knew I was moving to Los Angeles at 14 years old. I'd come out here to train, meet choreographers. I got an agent. I'm like, just so you know, when I'm of age, I will be moving to California. And my mom's like, oh my God, all right. But whatever it was, I was praised because I was exceptionally good at the craft, at dance,
Hmm.
which allowed me to live in that world. It wasn't a release, it wasn't an escape, as you mentioned. For me, it was like where I existed. It was
Yeah.
also my identity. So later on, when I did move to Los Angeles and I was like early 20s, and I herniated 3 discs and then ruptured 4 more, and then I was on bed rest with a neuropathy in my right foot. My entire world came crashing down at that point. And that, for the first time, was where I realized that my identity, as I mentioned, and my worth was tied to who people perceived me as in dancing. This exceptional dancer, this athlete, she has so much talent, so much skill, she's going so many places, blah, 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 blah. But when that was literally removed from my experience,
Hmm.
I was like, who am I? What do I have to give anyone ever? What do I know? What am I an expert in? If I can't be the expert in this, how do I show up at all in life? And I think the my Southern friends at that point never saw that aspect of me. So they only saw me shining brightly, being confident. They're like, well, she's going to LA. Let her go. Let her go live her dream. She's a little weird. She's going to LA. And then I got there, and shortly after, I mean, I was only living in Los Angeles for 3 years before that massive injury. And that's when I started studying hypnotherapy,
Yeah.
yoga, network spinal analysis. I went real deep into the spiritual and the body and what it meant to be quote unquote broken, because that's how I viewed myself.
Did you always know when you were a dancer? So I'm assuming you did all forms, ballet, everything.
Mm.
Did you? Because a lot of times, if you're from the East Coast, you go, "Oh, I want to do the Broadway route. I want to go do Broadway." You were set on the LA route of doing what,
Oh,
music videos and film and all of that. Did you want to act too, or you
oh
just
yeah,
were
I did
okay?
that as well. Yeah.
Okay, so you were set on following a dream. I was the same way. I knew, I grew up in very conservative Washington, D.C., right outside. And I remember you made me laugh with the combat boot comment because I would wear, I got a cowboy hat once.
Oh yeah.
And I remember wearing it out, and everyone's in their Lily Pulitzer and stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to the bar in Georgetown in my cowboy hat. Like, one day I'm going to be famous and live in LA, and I'm so much bigger than this small town. I was the same exact way. It's so funny that you said that. Um, but what struck me about you is that you came out so early, like 14, got the agent, did all of that stuff, followed the path. Then you're out here auditioning, I'm assuming, for movies and TV and music videos and all of that. So you did the 3 years. When you were doing that, were you working all the time? Were you
Oh,
happy?
I was early 20s and completely wrecked with anxiety,
Yeah.
because I came from a very functional place, right? Where my dad is successful, hardworking. My mom's like, we were by the books, we're, educated, and everyone around me is doing formal education and they're on their way to law school or they're going to be a sports agent. And I'm like, I'm in Los Angeles just assisting this choreographer and going on dance auditions and then getting
Yeah.
a meeting every other hour. Uh, that was an abrupt 3 years because it was a shell shock to move from Alabama to Los Angeles, but it was also my first round of adulthood. And I didn't really, the dedication it takes to be a professional dancer means you're taking class 4 hours a day, and then you're running to an audition, and then you're trying to meet with agents, and you know the whole drill. So I still did that after my back injury. But what shifted in me was that I knew that I knew there was a giant bifurcation of my existence. I was like, I will not be this devoted dancer. I'm going to have other skills and directives. It was very clear to me after that back injury. So I still kept auditioning. I still kept dancing, but I was like, 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
It also is like in life, we talked about earlier, you take pivots, and there's no guarantees. And when you do hurt yourself or something like that, I live in LA for also the same reason. I moved out here to act and do all of that stuff. And I realized I had to pivot. I was not going to make it in the business. I'm married to a former actor. He was acted for 30 years of his life. He in the past decade did a pivot as well. This business is so hard. It is cutthroat, right? Just the way coming from a place where, because my dad was an orthodontist, so we have the yuppie background. Everybody likes you. Everybody knows you. To coming to this giant place where it's all transplants. Did you live in West Hollywood?
When I first moved here, I lived in beautiful Toluca Lake.
Yes.
In the valley.
Yes. So the valley, you went the valley route. Okay.
Well, that's where all the dancers went. And I had no other understanding than that's where the majority of the dance studios were. It was more affordable. And then you're in that mix of, no offense to anyone that lives in the valley, it's great. But when I was there in my 20s, I was in a cheap apartment in a not so great area. There's a vibe there.
Yeah, it's different. I get what you're saying, but it's also just being in LA where everybody's hungry and it was very traumatic in my 20s. And I'm sure for you too, where it's very cutthroat. A lot of people I don't want to use the bad word, but I'm going to star effers. I'm going to change it to effers, even though you can cuss on the podcast, because everybody's just trying to step over your head to make it themselves. It's a very isolating experience, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have all sorts of stories around that, as I'm sure you do too. But
yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think I've told some on the podcast at some point. Okay, so then you ended up going into the fitness. Did you shift when you had to take the pivot into the fitness industry? Is that what happened?
Yeah. So my orthopedic surgeon, who I still credit to this day, he was so cutthroat. He was at Curlin Job. He's like, just so you know, you have the spine of a 55-year-old arthritic man, and it is happening again, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I remember standing there looking at him, and I was like, you don't know me? I was like, it's not happening again. Over my dead body will this be happening again? So at that moment, it was like a light bulb went off, and I'm like, I'm going to learn everything I can about body mechanics and this body. And I loved fitness. Fitness and dance kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So then I found yoga and unfortunately got super injured in my yoga practice because I found the most masochistic variation of yoga, which would be Ashtanga. Got super injured there. And then moved into mobility, which is kind of the meat and potatoes of what I do now. I had to go into a mobility, physical therapy avenue to figure out where I'd missed the mark between dance injuries, between yoga injuries, between actual fitness injuries. I'm like, what am I missing here? Specifically in yoga, because I was sold that's a healing modality. And I managed to really screw myself up in yoga. So I learned a lot, which actually is where I think I stand out as a trainer, because when women come to me, they're always midlife, which I love, but they're always either coming from a very dogmatic yoga practice and a sports injury, being moms that have gotten off track, that don't know how to get back on and find themselves and just feel good. So the mobility stuff that I've learned has helped create a foundation that means your longevity is the priority. It's not, do you have a six-pack? I don't care, honestly. I'm 47. I don't have a six-pack, but I love my body now more than I ever have. And I feel better now than I ever did in my 20s. Because I know how to take care of my joints. I know how to take care of it versus thrashing. which a lot of us grew up doing. That was the 90s, no pain, no gain. And it just was what it was.
Well, let me ask you a question about that, because this is
Mhm.
also a selfish question. Um, so I think being a middle-aged woman as well, by the way, you do not look 47, so whatever you're doing, let me know. And I'm older than you. But what what I wanted to say is the fitness part of it, of thrashing our bodies. Like, I ran 2.5 marathons. I would do double soul cycles at one point, probably 5 years ago. I don't even want to know how much money I spent. And it was like this addiction. And I never lost 1 pound, by the way. If not, I was heavier than I am now. And it was not good for my body at
Yeah.
all. So I want to know, because you talk about dealing a lot with middle-aged women or
Yep.
whoever you're working with. Is a lot of it just a spiritual component too, along
Oh
with
my
the
gosh.
fitness piece of it?
I love that you bring that into it. I talk about that in all of my classes. I mean, you probably cannot get through one of my classes without me bringing spirituality into the mix. But to your point, a lot of us at this age were raised with, the Cindy Crawford videos and the Baywatch workout videos and Billy Blanks and double soul cycle class. I mean, I owned a cycling and yoga studio. I was part of the game, dude. I was on Abbot Kinney with my studio, Hustle and Flow. And I remember Soul Cycle came to town and I was like, no, it's Mom and Pop against the world. And
Yeah.
then, what I know, because I've watched it evolve in terms of fitness, is that we never took into account inflammation, stress, lifestyle, joy, fun, spiritual practices. We never took any of that into account. All we took into account was, if I can sweat through 2 classes, then I'm going to shed this weight. If I can do back-to-back Equinox bar classes, then I'm going to be strong and shredded like that teacher who hasn't discussed her eating disorder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There were a lot of misconceptions, and we all were a part of it as teachers too. I mean, I was like, oh, you need to be doing a double. You need to do a cycling class and then go right into a yoga class. I would never do that now. And I would never suggest that of anyone, honestly, unless, I don't know, unless you're just doing it for fun. But the damage for your body is that recovery never happens. Recovery is the end all be all. So if you're not sleeping and giving your body a chance to rest, nourishing it with food, good friends, we talked about that when you were on my show, you got to have a circle around you that is breathing life into you. Because if you're doing double classes like that and everything else is a hot mess, you're just adding fuel to the fire. And a lot of us in
I
it.
think that's huge that you say that, because a lot of my listeners happen to be middle-aged women, and they, we're taught. I remember all that stuff that you were talking about. I did that Cindy Crawford video all the time in college, by the way. I remember. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I was always trying to do the pose she was wearing. Remember the trainer with the little
Oh,
weights?
wow.
You just cracked me up bringing that up. Um, but there's also, I mean, you've been through a lot. I'm taking a more of a shift, because your body went through all that stuff. You're successful. You've made a name for yourself as a trainer. You're a celebrity trainer now. So you have a lot of famous people over the years that you've trained, whether it be the method that you're doing now, or what you did do in the past, or just your career as a dancer, but also the personal aspect of your life, which I want to talk to you about, which I know is extremely painful. Um, can you talk a little bit about what happened to you
Yeah.
with, okay, let's go
Yeah.
in that direction.
Um, so when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was dancing, as we mentioned, and I was also taking acting classes. And I remember walking into audit this one class with my coach, who was my coach for years. And there was a man on the stage, and he was crying, and he was just being grilled about his relationship with his dad. And I remember looking at him, and I was like, that's my boyfriend or my husband, or I don't know what, but there was it was like I like to call it string theory. It felt like a string of energy from my solar plexus to him. And I was like, that's so weird. I don't know this man. That's so weird. Turns out 15 years later, after he had moved across the country multiple times, we had remained friends. I had been married. I'd been divorced. We went into a relationship. His name was Matt. He was my son's stepfather. We were together for 8 years. He was my biggest cheerleader, my best friend, really profoundly spiritual, psychic. He was into remote viewing. He was doing things far before they were coming up on social media, is all I can say. The things that he was into and the conversations we were having were always metaphysical. And on September 16th, it was a Friday night, he came into the bathroom, gave me a kiss. He was going to bed. We slept in separate rooms because of his snoring.
Oh God, don't get me started. Yeah.
Can't. With the snoring, I can't. But he came in, he was in a great mood, gave me a kiss. He's like, don't forget, I'm going to pick up Bo from his dad's house for the game. Just make sure you leave out his uniform. I'm like, yeah, sounds great. He goes to bed. The next morning, I wake up to teach my morning class, my virtual class, and I hear his alarm going off. I'm like, so weird. His alarm never goes off. I never hear that. So I go shower, I come back. It's still going off. I came in and he had passed away in his sleep. And it was, as you know, I mean, you've been through this so many times. Just the worst moment of all time. Speaking of, like with your bike accident moment, every aspect of time slowed down. And I remember sitting there and looking at him, and I was so mad. That was my first, I was like, how dare you?
Mm-hmm.
And I also remember, I've been to therapy and I've gotten my EMDR plenty of times for this, but I remember looking up at the ceiling and I was like, if you're going to leave, if you're going to just die, I was like, then you're sending me signs for the rest of your life. And for the rest of my life, I'm going to get signs from you, and it better happen every single day, and they better be dramatic. And sure enough, like literally right after I said that, I heard what it wasn't Matt's voice. I don't know if it's God's voice, but it was so clear. And it said, it's time for you to ascend. And I was like, nope, no, thank you. I don't want to ascend. I was like, literally 5 minutes ago, my life was golden. I have no interest in ascending. And it was so clear. At the same time, it was like two aspects of self, again, duality again. I was like, I know it's time for me to rise. And at the same time, I was resisting it with every fiber of my being, because the reality is my best friend's dead. Love of my life is dead. And that moment changed everything, because truly Matt did start sending signs like that. There were signs happening before he died in retrospect, which I don't know if you're familiar with Laura Lynne Jackson.
Of course. Yeah.
So I'm chapter 22 in her book Guided, her newest book.
Okay. I haven't read it yet. I want to read it. I love signs.
Yeah. There are the signs that I go into in that book are really remarkable. She did a reading for me a month after Matt died, and it was the most healing thing that's ever happened to me, because it was 2 hours of closure and assuredness that I and my son are so divinely protected. Every single one of us here are divinely protected. That's why when you said that about your accident, I'm like, oh, 110%. It was your dad. It was Julie. It was all your ancestors, all your spirit guides, all your angels. They don't leave us ever. They are literally, and I feel people will often ask me, they're like, I don't understand how you can have this mindset and going through the most horrific thing. And I'm like, because it's so evident to me that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to Matt for making that so clear, because that day, all the electricity went out in our upstairs. That's never happened before. A mourning dove came to my house. My parents flew in the day that he died. And the next morning my mom was making eggs, and she went to put pepper on it, and the pepper spilled everywhere. And she screamed at the top of her lungs, and she's like, Matt. And I come running downstairs, like, what are you talking about? She was like, literally, she goes, when Matt was in town 4 months ago, I was making eggs for Matt, and he poured the pepper, and the pepper went everywhere, all over the eggs. It was just like these recreations of sign after sign after sign. And I just was like, oh, I would almost start laughing. I'd be like, this guy. I was like, well, I did demand it. I did say you absolutely have to show signs. And he delivered, and he still does. And then to put a pin in that, 10 months later, after Matt died, my ex-husband, my child's father, passed away. And the dichotomy of these two deaths really put it in perspective for me, because my relationship with my child's father was more complicated. He was less spiritual. He was less of a light, if you will, on earth. His journey was much harder, and the loss was completely different. So I say this because some people are like, well, I don't feel my deceased loved one that way. And I'm like, it's understandable, because there's a book by Pema Chodron called How We Live is How We Die. And I recommend that to anyone who's lost anyone special and close to them. How you live carries over in how you die. And it is incredibly valuable to think about. If you can get that meta and that big picture with it, how you show up right now is going to affect the people that are still here when you're gone. And I know you've had experiences like that with Julie. And even, I don't want to get too like, we already talked about it. I'm so woo, but I don't even call it woo.
Oh my God, geez,
Like,
I'm the most woo person ever. Sometimes I'm like, I mean, I've had shaman on. I believe in all of that stuff. And I think most of my listeners do too, or they wouldn't have listened or been
Right.
with me this long. Or if you're a new listener, I mean, that's why I do this. That's literally why I do this, because what you said struck me of how you dealt with the loss of being angry. And
Oh,
so I've gone through multiple losses. When I lost my dad, when we did the panel, I was so angry that God did this to me again. I was angry at God. And then when I lost Julie, I felt almost like same thing. You have to show me signs. What are the signs? And then the signs, that's why when you just said that, I started tearing up, because I think I never really got signs from my dad. I know he's with me.
Yep.
I don't get signs from my sister or maybe I do, but she was such a young baby and I was so little. I don't even know, but I know she's one of my angels. But Julie, my God, does she send me signs all the time? And what you said too about the pepper and all of the stories are that they are, I believe this, in the next room.
yes.
They're laughing. I'm going to get emotional again. They're laughing with us. They're poking us, the ones that are with us. So he's with you, like right next to you. Sometimes I'll be driving my car and something will happen and I'll just start like a weirdo talking to Julie because I know she's there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you're like that too.
No.
So I think that death and loss looks different per person that you lose, but they're all there.
Yes.
But they just come in different forms, right?
And the more I've researched this and talked to people and interviewed, Laura Lynne Jackson was on my podcast, and she had some really great points. I've had a lot of psychic mediums on my show too. You will never regret having these conversations with the people you love right now, Earthside, because it opens a door for communication later. I feel, and I know without a doubt, Matt was an ascended spirit. Laura Lynne confirmed that within an instant. She goes, she goes, I don't even know how to explain how powerful he is, but he's coming in with such grace and such, is it okay if you tell her this? Is it okay if we go down this route in terms of conversation? She goes, I've never had that happen from spirit. And he was like that in real life. Really empathetic, really careful. Whereas Leland would have been really kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall, and it would have been a whole different approach. Because we didn't talk about that. Leland and I, my ex-husband, we didn't have that connection. Whereas with Matt, it was a conversation every day. Every day was about the metaphysical. We talked about weird stuff. We talked about near-death experiences, aliens, signs, repeating numbers, lyrics and songs. And when he died, the conversation continued. Like right now, God darn it, it's 12:44. That's my sign from him, is the number 44, like that. So it's just
here. He's here. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's here.
Gives me chills. It's never a bad choice to have the conversation now. I talk to my folks about it all the time. My mom's like, well, I'm going to be a hummingbird. And my dad's like, I'm a bald eagle. I'm like, so I'll see you once never. I'm like, why are you going to be a bald eagle? How am I going to find a bald eagle? He's like, you'll see me. I'm like, okay. But we've all discussed it in my family. We're like, what are you? How are you going to show up for me?
Well, I'm just going to tell you right now that think I said it. So Julie's dad was like my second dad, and I lost him. I've told this story before on the podcast. And you know, he died very tragically in November. And I never had a sign for him, but when he and Julie's mom were on the podcast in October, so a month before it happened. And he told this story about how you know, he knew that Julie was going to be okay when she passed because he looked up at the sky, and there was like helium balloons flying up at the sky, and one went one direction and all the rest of them went a different direction. Okay? And so this was probably the 2 months after he passed away. I was in Hermosa, and I was turning from Pier onto Ardmore, you know,
Yeah,
that little
I know
thing. And it
exactly
was
where it is.
such a pretty night. And I looked right up at the sky, and I saw all these balloons in the air. And you never see helium balloons
Never.
anymore because
No.
number one, there's a shortage. So people don't release the helium balloons. But it was very close to after he passed away. And I went, "Oh, you stinker. That's
I
you."
love it. I love
So
it.
they send signs, and some of them sometimes, you know, I have had listeners reach out to me before, and because I talk about signs all the time. It's a question I always ask people when they lose someone. What's your sign?
Yeah.
What's your sign that they're with you? And for a long time I would get upset because my dad never sent a sign. But then one day my sister laughs at this story because she thinks it's so wackadoodle, but I used to be afraid there's a fly flying around me. I used
Like
to
that.
be terrified of flying, and I just brought up a fly. Um, and I looked out on the wing of a plane, and no, there was not a milkmaiden. Remember that movie?
That's
It's Bridesmaids, I think. And and I saw my dad, and I heard his voice. I looked at my own reflection, and it was like looking back at me was my dad, and I heard the way the nickname, he used to call me baby doll. And I heard it. And this was probably 6 years. It was pretty recent. And he goes, "You're going to be okay." And then after that, I'm not kidding. I know this sounds crazy, but I have not been afraid to fly. And I was terrified of flying, like the worst flyer. And I mean, I still don't love it, but I've been so much better about it. So
it's
I love that you say that because they come in different forms.
oh yeah.
And, you know, losing what was obviously your soulmate, right?
Mhm.
And then your partner, you weren't married, correct?
Matt, I was not married to Matt. We were together 8 years, but I
But
was married to my son's
okay,
father. Yeah.
so you were married, but it was just a totally different relationship, and out
Mhm.
of that, you got your beautiful son.
Who's also incredibly psychic and has all sorts of connections to the other side as well. I feel so grateful. I want to go back to what you were saying because the signs can be so ridiculous. Like when you said there's a fly flying around, I was thinking, oh, make sure you tell her about how Matt shows up as flies and insects and how you hate flies.
Oh
The
my
very
God. There's been a fly flying all around this
because he's
entire
such
time.
a little punk.
And I always kill them, so now I won't kill this one.
What you don't understand,
Sorry.
I get really mad at them. I swat them away.
Yeah.
I'm not in the mood for this right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
so Matt was adamant that I get on TikTok, right? That he was like, "You're perfect for it. I love TikTok." He's like, "You're gonna find all your people on TikTok," and I'm like, "It's so dumb." Sure enough, I get on TikTok. I mean, I have 250,000 followers on
Oh my
TikTok.
God. I'm
The
not on
last,
TikTok.
oh, I love it. I can teach you. I can teach you.
Okay. Okay. So sorry I
It's
interrupted.
okay.
Go ahead.
The last TikTok I made before he passed was my anger about flies. And when he passed, when I went in to see his body, I was at the funeral home. There was a fly on his head. And I was so mad, Megan. I was like, how dare you be on his precious body? I was
Yeah.
so offended, right? I'm like, get. And he wouldn't get off. And then I get in the car and there's flies in my car. On the drive home, there's flies. And I just started talking to the fly. I've not told this on any show
Oh my
before.
God, but that's
No,
so weird that there was just a fly
that's
flying all around. Wow.
it,
Wow.
he shows up all the time. There'll be a fly in my bathroom mirror because I talk to him through photo in my bathroom and there's flies, a single fly. I'm a clean person.
No, there's only a single fly in here. That's insane. That's crazy.
What I'm saying is just be open to
Yeah.
your signs, right? Be open to the weirdest thing being your sign, because it could be even, something as cool as what your dad did that's exceptional, but or helium balloons or a Dell fly. It could be anything. Just don't write it off. I want people to be so open. I think that's what we're thinking. Well, if I don't see a red elephant, okay. Or maybe it's something, I don't know. I think the conversation is just stay open.
I agree. So let me ask you, so the loss, and this was recent, right? It's only been a few years. How
3
many years?
years in September with Matt. And then Leland was in 2024. So June of 2024.
Okay, so you're still deep in that
Mhm.
period, like the new grief. And again, I talk a lot about grief and loss. That's the majority of this podcast. And that grief lasts a lifetime. You're
Yep.
going to be grieving him until you're reunited, which I know you will be. How were you able to go back to work, to do all the things? Because then you ended up being the sole provider, right, for your son. And you have to, when you're going through this alone, I mean, it's like a whole different life.
Yeah.
I tell my husband all the time, we've been together for 25 years. I'm going first, please, because I can't imagine that pain. I really can't.
I say it all the time.
Yeah, he's my person. I want to go before my kids and I can't go through it again, is my point.
And I pray that you never do.
Yeah. So tell me what, like, picking yourself up, because I think a lot of people that listen come here that are newly have lost someone, or they might be 5 years out, 10 years out. Grief comes in different waves, and I'm sure you're dealing with it. One day you could be perfectly fine. Then you're driving down the street, you hear your song, and then it's, why did you leave me? All of this stuff. So talk about that.
I'm a huge advocate for therapy and EMDR.
Yeah.
So I went and did EMDR, and I can't remember again the acronym for that, but it's where the eyes are bilaterally stimulated, your hands are bilaterally stimulated, you have earphones on that are bilaterally making sounds, and then you recount the traumatic event, right? So basically what it's doing is it's pulling the emotional charge from the memory, so that as those memories lay down in your mind, the charge of emotion is not there. That's why I can talk about this so easily, because nothing makes sense. The fact that I can tell this story over and over again and just feel okay is largely because that therapy pulled the emotion from it. So not that it erases it, just like you said, this is an ongoing, I have a mat size hole in my heart that will never be filled ever. It's there because I knew him. Having the most epic community, this is where curating your circle is, it's your job, it's your duty. And if it means like working hard to maintain relationships, then do that, because when shit hits the fan and you need people and you need that support, they're the ones who are going to rally. They're the people that are going to show up for you. And if I did not have that, I don't know how I would have picked myself up off the floor. Like I said, my mom and dad, I called them at 6 a.m. when I found him. I think I talked to them later at 2 p.m. and I was like, where are you guys? It's so loud. They're like, we're in Dallas. We're almost there. And I was like, what are you talking about? It didn't even occur to me. They got on a plane and they came here and they lived with me for a month and they just picked up. And now I know that's extremely rare and very special, but any ounce of help, any ounce of community that you can lean into when you're grieving, please take it. It's a gift to them. People love you. They want to take care of you in that moment. I resisted it until I absolutely couldn't. When Matt died, I couldn't resist help. I needed it. I couldn't fold clothes. I couldn't remember what I was doing. I would walk into a room. Someone would ask me a question. I would be bawling, crying. I would answer their question and then just pick up and continue on with whatever I was doing. But it was because I was safe, and the community, my best friends were right down the street. My parents were there for a month. My online community, sending me weighted blankets, sending me cards, sending me food. It was just like I was completely enraptured with love and support. And I guess,
did you also find out sorry to talk over
Yeah.
you, who your real friends are?
Oh, yeah.
Like, because when you go through something like this, you find out who people will surprise you. It'll be people that you don't even think would
Oh,
do
girl.
something so generous and so kind.
I just told this story 2 days ago. I have chills. One of my clients, she's a celebrity. Her husband's a celebrity. It, the 2 days after Matt died, shows up at my door at 8 a.m. with 4 coffees and a bag full of croissants for my mom and dad, myself, and Bo. And I'm like, what? And she's hysterical. And she's like, can I come in? I'm like, yes. And she just sat down and cried with me. And I was just like, whoa. You just drove here from Hollywood. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't even know what's happening. She's like, I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop thinking about this pain. I want to take it away from you. I mean, it's just remarkable. People are remarkable. I never in a million years would have expected that. I don't even know how she had time. I still am just like, oh.
But don't you think too that that's them? They bring people into, I think, and I talked about, and I'm not trying to, once again, and the fly is right there, and now it's right there.
Matt.
Keeps coming in. When people disappoint you in situations where you go through that loss and you find out kind of, I think too, people don't want to be reminded that we're all going to die one day, so they don't really know how to deal with it and they
That
want
was
to
me.
stay away, right?
I wouldn't know what to do. And now
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, I tell people because no one told me this. The grieving person is thinking about their loss every day. You can bring it up. They're happy to talk about it. They've been thinking about it since the moment it happened. You know what I mean? It's not something I walk around trying to avoid. I'm happy to talk about Matt. I want to talk about his life. I want to talk about how he's affected me. I think if I had had that information all along, I would have been a lot more comfortable being like, gosh, how's your heart? I'm sure that, you know what I mean? I would have opened the door more versus staying far away from the conversation.
Do you think too that just, he was fit? He passed away suddenly of a heart attack, correct?
No, it was arterial sclerosis, which is not
Okay.
the widowmaker, but the lack of oxygen moving away from the heart, I believe, in the blood vessels. He had high blood pressure, didn't drink, didn't smoke, wouldn't take a flu shot, wouldn't take antibiotics. I mean, the guy, like, when he would get a sinus infection, he had to order in his herbs from Sweden and inhale them through his diffuser. I was like, oh my God. He was just super clean in all those ways, but genetics were there.
Yeah.
And, he could have used probably a blood pressure medication that he didn't want to take of his own free will. There was parts of me that were so mad about that, but not even mad enough to really be mad because I'm like, you're your own man. You're allowed to make your own choices. I wouldn't stop you from being you, even though it's caused me this amount of grief.
Yeah.
That was who you were.
I love that you celebrate him though so much.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, the fact that you are, I don't know, there's certain people, they go through their whole lives and sometimes it makes me mad and I feel bad saying that because I feel guilty when I meet someone and they don't really relate if I bring up, because I'm a very deep person and I get deep very quickly.
I like it.
And I think that people don't really get it. And sometimes when you're somebody that's gone through a lot and you feel very deeply or you have gone through loss, you just have it. So it's one of the good parts, I hate to say that, of going through loss is that you feel very deeply and you understand life more, right? Does that make sense?
I'm dating a man who is also a widow. He lost his fiance and then his mom 2 months later. And we just had this conversation last night about one of my clients. I do one-to-one coaching along with the fitness aspect. And I just noticed her fear around loss. And it was preemptive, right? Her husband's still around, but she was just expressing fear. And when I brought it to this man that I'm seeing, he goes, it's because you've survived it. He goes, it's because you know that there is life on the other side. He goes, someone who hasn't had that loss literally lives in this gripping state of fear and worry. So it's just all of life is either fear or love, right? People are coming from fear or they're coming from love. And it's understandable to be fearful of the unknown. But he goes, the reason that you can help her is because you've survived it. You've lived on the other side of that and you're still full of love. And it's an example for folks, but they don't know what they don't know. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Do you also think that so now you're dating, obviously, and you're dating also another widow. Do you ever think about, you know, what is Matt thinking right now? Is he okay with this person? Like
Oh,
you, and the fact that you're both widows, I think is special because you know the pain of losing someone that you love,
I mean,
so
Megan,
deeply.
it's like I had been on quite a few dates before this man, and I was like, it's fine if they don't get it. It's who's gonna understand my situation? It's such a freak situation. And then when I met him, it was like I was finally seen. Now he's obviously a lot more aligned with what I want and what I need in my life. But then to have that as an added through line, it's a conversation that I didn't know that I needed to be met in, and he's meeting me there. You know what I mean? Which is remarkable.
I interviewed, there's a book because you brought up a book that you love, so Kate Durkee, and she wrote a book called Reimagining Grief. So she was just
Yes.
on, and I love her. I love, love, love her. And she lost her daughter Penny, and she had lost her mom and her dad all within a very short span of time. And it reminds me of Kate's story of what you do with, your grief and
Yeah.
how you stay fit, you stay active. There's 5 things that she talks about doing when you've gone through loss. She's one of the most positive people I've met in a very long time, and she really inspired me. And you talked about a book that you recommend
Yeah.
all the time, but this book, Reimagining Grief, is my new book that I'm like, anybody that's going through loss has to read this book. I think it's so important, but the stories that she kind of talked to me about, that she says all the time, there's no coincidences.
I
There's
agree.
no coincidences. There's just not. And even though we don't understand them, like you kind of have to look up at the sky and go, thanks, Matt. Thank you for sending this person to me. You don't know what the future is between you two. None of us know what our futures are, right? I could have just died on a bike and I'm still here.
Thank God. I
Oh.
know. Exactly.
Um, and also, by the way, I was not ready to go. It was like my life is finally kind of falling into place. And
Yeah.
it's almost funny because it's like, then this happens. All
Yeah.
these great women and I'm doing all these things and then this happens. So I just think there's no coincidences.
There's not. And that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying. Like it gives you more energy. It's giving it that accident, Megan, gave you more purpose, more clarity, more life force.
yeah. And also made me go, I really truly give zero fucks at this point. I really don't. I mean, I don't. And I think that that's a gift that most people don't have. And I
Mm.
love also that you brought up EMDR. I can't recommend it enough for people because I've done it and it helped me talk about the loss of my sister, where I can tell the story and not, you know, lose my shit and start
Yep.
crying and talk about Julie and all the things. EMDR is a very, very amazing tool for anybody that's gone through loss or grieving or have a PTSD, because you have PTSD from what you went through,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so let me ask you this. So you have this beautiful son that's an athlete
Mhm.
and he sounds like a great kid.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about him and just that, I mean, you really are this amazing light. And I get emotional because when I meet people like you, you're very special. And I'm just so grateful that I met you because I think your story is so inspiring and just your energy,
Oh my God.
you
Please
know?
don't make me cry.
I always cry on the podcast.
I don't. I don't. So congratulations. Um, no, I get emotional about my son because again, another knowing. So just the way that I had that knowing with Matt, when I saw my son's father, I had a vision and a knowing that I would have a son with him. And let me tell you, we went through some massive roller coasters to get to that point because there was a lot of like oil and water. But I believe in the heart of my hearts that I was chosen to be my son's mom and I was
Yeah.
chosen for that soul. He is so talented and kind and unique and charismatic and funnier than me, which is obnoxious and also a problem parenting because he's 13. So it's a little bit of a problem because if he says something funny, I'm
And
sure
he's 13 and he's how tall?
he's 6'2". Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's
Wow.
problematic across the board.
Yeah. Well, because I have a 12-year-old and she's like 5'2". So
Yeah,
that's a
which makes
big,
sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, he's 6'2" and 215, and he's just like the light of my life. And oh God, the trauma of what he's been through, under the age of 11, you've had your own, but the way he shows up still is like reinforcement in my belief that we're so protected. I see that my son, and I have such a clear knowing that my son is so divinely protected. Like I can feel his dad and Matt around him at all times. And we talk about it. Like Bo and I talk about it probably ad nauseum. He probably hates it, but I hope one day that he understands my ears are ringing. That gives signs all the time.
Oh my God, you really do. You're so lucky.
Dude,
Where's my monarch right now? I'm
come
gonna have to
on,
go in
Mark.
my backyard. I wish one would fly through my house right now. Then that would be weird.
That would be weird. That'd be extra
So
special.
ringing in the ears is another sign. Wow.
I think he's my teacher, honestly,
Yeah.
because the way I watch him move through life with this grief, knowing how heavy that is. My grief is one version, but to lose two dads, it's a whole nother thing. Like
Yeah.
both Leland and Matt were his coaches. Leland was a basketball player. He's an amazing basketball player. Matt was a football player. He's an amazing football player. They were his North Star. You know what I mean? So here I am, the clumsy dancer. I'm like, you look great in your costume. And he's like, oh my God, Mom. It's just, he's teaching me how to move through it and just be a safe place. So that's all I try to do.
And then can I ask this if you want me to edit it out? How does he feel about the dating stuff?
He actually will be in a restaurant and be like, look at that guy. Think that guy's single? I'm like, oh my God. He literally was walking down the street one day and he's like, my mom is single and ready to mingle. I'm like, she's actually so not ready to mingle at all yet. So please don't ever say that out loud.
Funny.
Oh, he's a riot. One more thing.
Yeah.
I was on the first date with the widower man, and he literally texted me 2 hours in, and he's like, "Is he new daddy?" And I was like, "Bo, get off the phone! I can't believe you just wrote that in a text message."
Oh my God. So he's an old soul.
Oh, my friend.
Yeah.
He might be older than both of us combined, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm dealing with, but I think he sees the big picture. I think he wants that influence. I think he wants me to be happy. It's a number of things,
You're very lucky though, because most kids will not react that way. So
I'm aware.
That is like a gift beyond gifts. My brother and I, when my mom first started dating, and then she did end up remarrying like a complete psycho abuser.
Oh God.
We were black to the wedding. Like we just couldn't stand him, and we were not easy at all for my mom to have to date anyone. So that's amazing that he's so open and such a great kid. Yeah. And I think too, God gives us the lessons in life, but he also gives us the spirits, like the people that are supposed to teach us lessons, right? So
without a doubt,
your first husband was a lesson. And then you ended up with this soulmate, and we have different soulmates in our lives. I have 2 daughters. One is my hard, like I love her to pieces, but she's harder. And then my other one is like easier, and we're very similar, but I love both of them. They're the greatest gifts to me, but they teach me different lessons.
Oh yeah.
And I do believe too that they say you pick the souls like of your children before you come, or your parents. Yes. You pick your parents too, all of that stuff. I really do believe that.
He just said that 2 days ago as he's packing his football bag. He's like, if I had known that you were going to be this annoying, I wouldn't even have chose you in heaven before I came here. I was like, oh.
Oh my God, he is thank God though that you have that, because you need it. You need that. Thank God you didn't get like a hard like a kid that's not kind or
It
something
would
and
have been a
really
rough road.
challenging. Yeah.
Rough road.
Okay. So for the sake of time, I want to ask you. So I already know all your signs. I always ask people what their signs are that their people are with them. So fly, ringing in ears, numbers. Is there anything else?
Matt's also a pink flamingo.
You don't see
Leland,
those often though.
no, you don't. And pink
Yeah.
cars. Pink cars is Leland. We have, I mean, so many other ones. The song "Staying Alive" comes on a lot. That was, yeah. There's so many signs. Just
Well,
endless.
I mean that's a first for that I've heard. You know, your story is pretty incredible that so you're just your spirit is very big and bright and it's you keep sharing your story, you keep doing what you're doing and helping people, what you do with fitness and all the things that you're bringing into the world. Can you tell my listeners a little bit about that and where they can find you before we
They're like,
part
"Oh, what?
ways?
You're not a psychic medium? You have another job?"
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no,
By
I
the way, if I keep going like this, it's because I think I pulled my shoulder out of the socket. That's my last part. That's bad. So I'm going to the chiropractor.
I
But go on.
really, this is messed up, but I really would be curious to see how you fell. Because for the injuries you sustained, I mean, you must have like, are you sure you didn't flip over or hit something else on the way down?
I hit face first on my face.
But you
So
went over the handlebars.
I went sideways. I do remember going over the side of the bike because the
So
bike's
your
totally
face
fine.
caught you.
My face caught me and my
Well,
hands. I
well,
landed
yeah.
on my hands, but I do remember the feeling of whoop, like my whole body. And I thought I was paralyzed. And I did feel it in the shoulder and whatever. I've had a CAT scan, but I still think there's something going on with my shoulder because I
There's,
don't take Advil. I don't take anything like that. And I can't live without Advil right now.
yeah, the inflammation is
So I'm
extreme.
just letting you know that's why I've been going like this the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm on a spinny chair and I have ADHD. So that's why I've
So
been
do
going
I.
like
Well,
this.
that's why we like each other.
Mhm.
The ADHDers. Okay, so where can people find you?
Yes, ma'am. My website, sweatandstillness.com. It's an on-demand platform for mobility, strength training specifically, yoga. There's audio meditations. It's designed for midlife women because my whole goal is to help women remember who they are by being strong for the high demand lives that they have. Everyone that comes to me is usually either a high performer, a very busy mom, or literally in midlife and unrecognizable to themselves. So I just like to help us get back there. A lot of spirituality. We laugh a lot. The workouts are short. They're meant to be done in your home. So you can just, or on the road if you're traveling, they're just meant to be digestible and to make your life better.
Well,
So I'm
you
not,
said too that you have every Tuesday, and when my shoulder's better, I'm going to start doing it. You have a half an hour yoga class. So for somebody like me that's so ADHD and cannot sit still to meditate, I was drawn to that.
oh yeah, it's my quickie yoga is what I call it. Quickie. So it's from 12 to 12:30. It's usually pretty stretchy and mobility based because that part of the day on Tuesday, I just want to lay around on the floor. So that's typically what we do. And it feels good. It's all levels. Yeah, it's a great group.
And then you also do something at Aviator Nation.
Yeah. So I teach
Okay.
in person mobility based yoga at Aviator Nation Ride, which is in Santa Monica.
I need to come do that. That
Yeah.
sounds so fun.
I love it.
Okay. In closing, where can people find you?
Yes. So I'm on Instagram as Nicole Sciacca, Sciacca, just like it sounds. TikTok is the Nicole Sciacca. And my website, sweatandstillness.com. I also have a Substack. I send out a weekly email that I'm really attached to. I think it's helping me write my book slowly but surely. And that's my name as well, Nicole Sciacca, Sweat and Stillness.
Okay. Well, I adore you. We're neighbors. We need to hang out more. And honestly, thank you so much for coming on. Listeners, I hope that today I didn't talk too much because I talked a lot, and I hope I didn't take away from your story at all. But I think it's just a reminder we're here for such a short time. We really, I learned almost 2 weeks ago, how quick life goes. Surround yourself with good people. If you find yourself in situations or marriages or relationships that you're not happy in, you don't need to stay in them. I know financial issues are hard, all the things. but there's always a way out. There's always someone you can talk to. If you're struggling with your mental health, please talk to someone. If you can't afford it, a lot of the colleges, like the community colleges, they have therapists that are trying to get their hours in. You can reach out to the universities, the community colleges, and there's always hope and there's always help. So Nicole, thank you so much for coming on. Keep going. You matter. Your story matters.
Judging Meghan with Meghan Judge.